Earlier this year, it was officially announced that Amazon Studios and Sony are working on a live-action Spider-Man Noir series with Nicolas Cage in the lead role. Now filming has kicked off in Los Angeles. Executive producer Amy Pascal has already been spotted on set. And according to her, Cage looks absolutely flawless in character. Right after filming began, Just Jared posted the first set photos. You might have to dig around on other sites to find them now, though studios are scrambling to shut down these leaks. The initial shots gave us a glimpse of Nicolas Cage as Ben Reilly. While the Spidey suit hasn't made an appearance yet, the production is clearly well underway. Canonically, Spider-Noir is an alternate version of Peter Parker who lives in a 30s New York where Uncle Ben was killed by a mob gang. Most times, Uncle Ben only gets shot, but in Noirverse, he was a social activist who was killed by Norman Osborn's Goblin mob. Turns out the enforcer who murdered Ben was the variant of the Vulture, a cannibalistic sadist who once worked in carnival freak shows. After beating up Ben, the Vulture maimed and devoured the man while the rest of Osborn's men and terrified reporter Ben Urich watched. If that wasn't bad enough, Peter discovered what was left of his uncle's body, and the resulting trauma made him extremely cynical, to say the least. After uncovering corruption and losing his uncle, Peter stumbles into a mysterious temple where he's bitten by a radioactive spider. Instead of the usual super strength, he starts getting strange visions of spiders that grant him superhuman abilities. Spider-Noir's vibe is all about the gritty detective look. He rocks a black leather trench coat, a fedora, and protective goggles, giving off major old-school private eye energy. Unlike the typical Spider-Man, Noir doesn't shy away from using firearms, making him a darker, more ruthless take on the character. Chances are these details will be adapted into the show as well. We can likely expect a more mature and brutal take on Spider-Man. But here's the twist. Nicolas Cage is playing Ben Reilly, not Peter Parker. For those who don't know, Ben Reilly came into the spotlight during the Clone Saga, where he became his own version of Spidey. It's still unclear if they'll dive into that storyline here, or if this is just a way for Marvel and Sony to keep Peter Parker exclusive to the major movies, with Ben Reilly filling in for the series. Whatever their plan is, we'll find out soon enough. Even the show's title will reportedly be just Noir, likely to avoid direct Spider-Man associations. Noir doesn't crack jokes like the classic Peter Parker and often resorts to more violent tactics in his fight against crime. His main adversaries are mob bosses, with none other than Norman Osborn, a crime lord in this universe, leading the charge. We might still see Osborn in the series, but we now have confirmation that Silvermane will be the main villain, a rumor that's finally been verified. In the Noirverse, Silvermane is reimagined to fit perfectly within the gritty 30s setting. Like most characters, he takes on a darker, more grounded persona that matches the corrupt, crime-filled atmosphere of the era. He'll be portrayed as a mob boss, much like his mainstream version. Operating within New York's organized crime networks, he'll likely control territory while battling rival gangs. His operations could involve classic noir elements like bootlegging, racketeering, and political corruption, things that really drive home that grim tone. Silvermane could be pulling the strings behind much of the city's criminal activity, setting up a direct conflict with Spider-Noir, who's out to clean up the streets. This clash will likely turn into a battle for control of the city's soul, setting the stage for a much darker take on the Spider-Man we know. The Great Depression setting will definitely provide a unique backdrop if the showrunners manage to pull it off right. Harry Bradbeer is directing the first few episodes. Overall, Spider-Noir promises to give fans a fresh take on the iconic hero, placing him in a more ruthless, unforgiving world where justice isn't as clean-cut and requires harsher methods. This series is set to fully immerse viewers in the noir atmosphere, with shadowy alleys, trench coat-wearing detectives, and dangerous gangsters lurking around every corner. Potential storylines could explore the rise of other masked vigilantes, the daily struggles of ordinary citizens trying to survive the Great Depression, and the complex power dynamics within the criminal underworld. Thanks to its mature rating, the show can deliver a more graphic and realistic portrayal of violence and crime, further cementing that raw noir aesthetic. It's not just a different look at Spider-Man, it's a dive into a darker world where the fight for justice comes at a heavy price. Stay tuned.